Cris Hilo is with the National Alliance of Filipino Concerns, also known as NAFCON. Cris, thanks for coming in tonight.
No problem. Thank you, Jonathan.
So what are you guys doing to try to help all those people there?
So right now we're trying to get all of our community members active and in support of what's going on in the Philippines. A lot of our community members are actually directly hit because we work with a lot of migrant workers here in New York City. Several of them are domestic workers in Philippine Forum, Kabalikat, and a lot of them have family members that are back home in Cebu, in Leyte, all the places that are hit badly. And none of them have actually been able to reach to their family members back home because there's no lines of service due to the power outages.
So they have no idea what's happened to their families.
So they have no idea, exactly.
And so are you guys trying to collect donations, money? What are you doing to try to help?
Well, right now, as the National Alliance for Filipino Concerns, we are collecting monetary donations. The reason why we primarily say monetary donations is because there's a long list of needs that are going to be listed by all of the people's organizations that we work with in the Philippines. It could vary from clothes to medical aid, but right now we have to raise as much monetary donations as possible.
Yeah, cold hard cash. It's
Yes.
really what helps the most in these disasters.
Especially and the places that were hit, not only the typhoon, but just a few weeks ago was an earthquake. And so when we got word of that, we also had to send money as soon as possible for matter of communication. But right now, we know that a lot of it is for medical needs right now.
And in the past, you've tried to help in other disasters, and you've ran into trouble, though, correct?
Yes. This is actually, sad to say, it's not something that is only once in a lifetime. It's actually happened every year for the past 3 years. We've had Typhoon Ondoy, Typhoon Sendong, and just last year, Typhoon Pablo. In Typhoon Ondoy in 2009, we held basically, we opened up the community center here in Queens with all of our different community allies to basically collect whatever we can. Clothes,
blankets, food.
Exactly.
Okay.
We wanted to get everybody involved. And so everybody got involved. Everybody on the block in Queens, in Woodside, basically came to the center, brought clothes, brought formula, brought everything. So we were able to send 2 giant containers to the Philippines. One was 40 foot long, another one was 20 foot long.
And what happened to those donations?
So one of them was actually successful.
Okay.
NAFCON was actually successful in sending that out. However, the second one was held back because during that time, the President Arroyo, had put an executive order, an order to basically put taxes on any relief goods that were coming into the Philippines. And so that was hard for us because this big container has a high tax value on it. So it was very hard for us to actually pay that off or even try to pay that off because these are all relief goods coming from the hearts of the community, people here, family members.
Right, they're donations.
They're donations.
And it's aid to help victims. So what happened to all that help?
They were actually held kind of captive for a while in the area, in the sea, basically. On a dock.
Not allowed to be handed out.
Not allowed to be handed out because of the taxes.
And is that a big concern for you? Is that facing this now, this new disaster, considering the problems you had in the past, trying to get aid to the people who needed it most, are you concerned about corruption, bureaucracy, what?
So right now it's corruption. We've figured out how to deal with that by sending just monetary donations and not getting stuck with that situation.
But are the groups on the ground there, are they having issues dealing with local authorities, and not even necessarily with this storm, but with previous disasters, of trying to hand out the supplies they're buying?
So some of the supplies that they're not buying that is actually given to them, a lot of the government officials have actually kept them away, especially the Department of Social Welfare and Development has actually kept supplies from the communities. And currently, right now, we're facing pork barrel. This is a huge corruption that's happening in the Philippines. We have trillions of dollars of pesos that are being used by the Philippine president for fake NGOs. Not only the president, but also congressmen and senators, people who we trust and are the representatives of the Filipinos. However, all of that money, instead of being put in development, is actually put into basically put into their own pockets.
And so moving forward now, as the country reels from this horrific typhoon, and people across the United States want to reach out to groups like yours and to help the people in the Philippines, how do you move forward here? What do you do to ensure that the donations you get are actually helping the victims?
So one thing, we're all about donations, but we also want to make sure we educate people on why these things are happening so badly. Climate change is something that's real, and so yes, send the money, but also let's educate ourselves on why this is so badly affecting our communities.
But and in the short term, you're trying to get that money to local groups who are on the ground, charities on the ground in the Philippines that can actually help these victims.
We send all of our money directly to Balsa, which is basically means raft in Tagalog, and basically those are people's organizations made of the fishermen, the peasants, the farmers, the workers, because right now in the media you only see the cities. You do not see the actual rural areas where a lot of the people live.
Yeah, you're right, because all we see is, frankly, a small fraction of the incredible damage there. It's heartbreaking to see. There is a lot of need and a lot of help that's going to be needed for the Philippines.
So a lot of people's organizations that we're working with are basically the ones on the ground, the people that are actually directly affected that are going to be the ones leading it.
And that's good to know. Cris Hilo with the National Alliance for Filipino Concerns, thank you for coming in tonight. We appreciate it.
No problem.